Hello everyone, and welcome to the Old Fashioned Health Network. Good health, inside and out. I'm Gwen McDaniel, your host of the Senior Living Show. I'm excited to have you with us today, as well as my special guest, Officer Carlos from the Atlanta Police Department. Welcome.
How you doing?
It's so good to have you with us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
I have several questions that I'd like to ask you today with reference to seniors and safety. And the first one's going to be centered around shopping.
Okay, without a
So
doubt.
give us some ideas and some things that we need to consider while we are out shopping during the holidays.
Well, definitely during the holiday season, the one thing that comes to mind definitely is shopping. Everyone out there is trying to buy gifts for family and friends. However, one of our biggest crimes during this time of year is people breaking into vehicles. People are always purchasing gifts, and especially when you have a lot of shopping to do, you don't want to walk around the mall the entire time with your bags in your hand. So people go back to their vehicles, put their bags real quickly and go right back to shopping. However, what they do is they leave the bags in plain sight in the vehicle. If you're walking right past the vehicle, all you have to do is look in and you see all these bags of things that people have bought. And that thief is looking right in and saying, hey, there's something in that car, something in that bag that I can take. So if he can see it, he's going to break into the car and get it out. Something that we advertise is called the Clean Car Campaign. Basically, if you look inside your car, you want it to look like it's completely clean. So that way no one has a reason to go inside of your vehicle. We encourage people, if you have a bag that you need to place inside of your car, put it somewhere where they can't see it. Maybe underneath the seat, or if you have the trunk, maybe bring like a blanket that you can use to cover up the bags. So if someone looks in, they don't see all the wonderful things that you just spent your money on, and hopefully you won't wind up with a broken window or worse because someone wants to see what was inside of your car.
Right.
Something that also helps is that when you're trying to park your vehicle at the mall, it's always good to park near other vehicles or places where people will be. If you kind of park your car away from everything else, you're more likely not going to have the people walking around that maybe would be able to see something and help deter something from happening. It's good to be near people. Also, cameras at these parking lots tend to not really have that great of reach the farther away you park away from the entrance to the store. As long as you park close, people are going to be there. Maybe the mall security will see it. The cameras will pick it up if anything does happen, and you're in a better position that if your vehicle is broken into, there's something more likely that we can find to help catch those people that help commit the act.
That's some great points. I think about SUVs, for example. And in my car, I can put things in my trunk. But with SUVs, they don't normally use that little pull-out, that comes out where they can put things in there. I think people need to really be cognizant and remember, to use that feature.
Anything that makes it look like that you don't have anything in your car. And even it's the small things too. If you have change, don't necessarily leave your change in the ashtray or in your cup holders, because you do have some desperate people. You may even have some, some transient or some homeless people that to them change is a lot. To you, it may not be anything, but to them it is. And some people will break into a car. We've had it happen just to get a little bit of change out of a cup holder. So it's just the little things that people need to be aware about as well.
You lose a whole window over a couple of quarters, huh?
That cost doesn't exactly balance out, does it?
It does not balance out. And the other thing that's interesting for this time of the year, I think sometimes we take advantage of if we haven't had any incidents in our community. How about neighborhood safety?
Well, I think you just touched on something right there, is that if people don't have anything that goes on recently, you tend to get a little bit lax and complacent. You think that nothing can happen where I can live. And that's the biggest thing, is that we have so much going on, at the holidays and just throughout the year, that you really can't ever be off your guard. It's always good to know your neighbors, know the people who always come in, and if someone doesn't belong in your neighborhood and you see them just walking around or looking at houses, obviously it doesn't exactly sound normal, especially if they don't live there. You've never seen them. I know, especially for the seniors that love to know everything that goes on in their community, if they're paying attention to something that goes on and they see something that doesn't look right to them, obviously the majority of them probably aren't police officers, but if something out of the ordinary catches their eye, it might actually be something. So if something that's not a police officer notices, might actually be something that a police officer wants to, find out, investigate, talk to that person, and see what's really going on. We have a little catchphrase for that as well. It's called the See Something, Say Something campaign.
See something, say something.
Yeah, they come up with fancy names for everything, so people can keep it in their minds. But if you see something and it looks out of place, give us a call. As a police officer, I know, for example, when I go to a call, and it turns out to be nothing, I'm glad that it's nothing, because I would much rather come for something and it not be something than it be something and I'm not there, and then all of a sudden we have someone who's a victim of crime or worse. We want to make sure that we're always there. I have no problem coming out, because if nothing happens, then it's a good day for me.
Absolutely. Well, I in my community, I'm on the homeowner association board, and we have an email list. Our neighborhood is relatively small; it's 98 homes, but we have an email list. So anytime something happens, someone's house is broken into, anytime anything looks unusual, it hits that email.
And so communication is great for that. It's also, if you guys explain how something might have happened, if someone's house was broken into, usually this person is going to try the same exact method that they did at that house. So say if they're targeting side windows that are unlocked, you can put out the communication and say, hey, make sure you leave your windows locked or closed, something that can help prevent that same person from doing it. Because usually once they find a method that works, they tend to stick with it as well.
What's your take on that with alarm systems?
Well, alarm systems are very great, more so as a deterrent. Someone, if they see a sign in the front yard, first off, is probably not going to choose that home if the home next to it doesn't have one of the signs saying that there's an alarm system. Your casual burglar, who pretty much is what we call a crime of opportunity, sees something that maybe he can look through the window and see a TV, for example, or sees a Christmas tree with tons of presents underneath it. Those are the type of things that you obviously can try and prevent as well. But going so much for alarm systems in particular, they're great to have. They're not 100% foolproof. However, they get us to the scene faster. For example, you were lucky that you had a neighbor that saw all this happen, and hopefully they called 911 as well. But if someone is not around, the alarm is the only way that we as the police are going to know that this burglary may possibly be happening. If someone has a home that's equipped with an alarm system, however it's not activated, I highly encourage them to try and activate it, because it's a great tool that can help us out as well. As far as the time delays on there, I'm not an expert in alarm systems, but I would definitely encourage anyone that has an alarm system to contact their alarm company and see what works best for them in their particular area, and try and get things set up the way it should be to help us out the most.
Great ideas, great ideas. Well, we're going to have a break for a moment, and we will be back with more senior safety tips. Welcome back, everyone. We've been talking about senior safety with Atlanta Police Officer Carlos, and he's been giving us some absolute great tips for the holidays. So before we went to break, Officer Carlos, we were talking about neighborhood safety and home safety. And one of the things that I want to remind people to do as well is about presents under the trees.
Definitely.
They have the big bay windows, and people can come and see in. What do you suggest they do, especially if they're going out of town anytime during the holidays?
Sure, some things we can do to help prevent some of these holiday burglaries. Obviously, a great Christmas tree in the window looks great with all the presents. I mean, it's all about the holiday spirit and decorating. However, putting things right in front of the window attracts people, especially if you go out of your house and leave your lights on and you can see everything perfectly. I know it may take away from the decorating, but if you can find a place for your Christmas tree that's not directly in front of the window where anyone can see, it may help someone from coming in and seeing all the wonderful presents under the tree, where they might break into a home to try and get something. Everyone loves to travel during the holidays. People are always sending gifts across the country, through the mail. However, if you're going to go out of town, it's great to, maybe if you can talk to a neighbor, see if they can pick up your stuff, this piling up at the door, or if you have a newspaper delivery where people leave the newspapers on the porches or something like that. So people who are trying to target these homes don't see that buildup, and it's a great light bulb that says, hey, that person's out of town. I have all day to try and go and try and break into their home. It's something that maybe you can coordinate with the neighbor just to make sure that stuff doesn't happen to you. If you're going to be gone for a short period of time, say you're going out holiday shopping, maybe you can leave a light on if you can afford to somewhere in the house, or maybe leave a radio playing, something that makes the home appear that someone is present and it's livable. That may be a deterrent as well.
Those are great points. I'd like to tie everything up by talking a little bit about the road safety. We're shopping, and what happens if there's an incident on the road? Let's say there has been an incident here in the city lately where someone was in an accident, and it found out later it was staged. What do you suggest for those individuals?
Sure. we had something like you said recently. It was in another metro area, very close, or a metro area of Atlanta, not exactly within the city, where someone intentionally created a traffic accident in order to harm somebody else. Obviously, when you're in an accident, you want to do the right thing. You want to pull over. You want to exchange your information, call 911 if necessary. But at the same time, you really don't know what someone's intention is, and there's a lot that goes on around the holidays. If one thing, you always want to make sure you're stopping, so no one thinks that you're trying to hit and run, flee the scene. But if you can signal to someone, maybe with your hand, point to a parking lot, put your hazards on. It may always be a good idea, especially if this occurs at nighttime, to pull into a parking lot that's very well lit, or somewhere where there's a lot of people around. So that way, it can help deter someone from doing something, because these people don't like to be seen doing the things that they want to do. But the biggest thing is just make sure that you make it very clear to someone, like say either with the hand gesture pointing to a parking lot or turning your hazard lights on, that you did acknowledge you were in an accident. You're just trying to pull over somewhere safely.
If you're involved in an accident and you're probably in the car by yourself or something, are there suggestions of things that you need to do on the road? It's congested, so what is it you should do?
Well, one thing for sure, it's actually state law as well. A lot of people don't realize this. They may be involved in an accident and they want to leave the cars exactly like the accident happened, so when the police officer comes, they can see what happens and see who was fault. Exactly. However, we really don't need to see an accident where the cars exactly were to determine how the accident went. You need to get if the vehicles are drivable and nobody is hurt, you need to get the vehicles off the roadway, because our main thing is, especially at the holiday time, the roadways are congested. We want to make sure the roadway is clear. We can always look at the damage from both vehicles, listen to the stories from both parties, and very well determine what happened. So that's the biggest thing, is move the vehicle off the roadway if you can. As long as nobody's hurt and the cars can drive, move them off. If they're not, we'll work with you.
Fantastic, fantastic. You have given us some awesome information in such a short period of time.
I am glad I could help.
And I really appreciate it. We're going to have an awesome season, and we pray that yours is safe, and we want you to be cognizant of those things that may come up. Watch around in your neighborhood, drive carefully, and have a lot of fun. Until the next time, I'm Gwen McDaniel, your host of Senior Living.
The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, girl. Just you and me.